A meeting ends. Chairs move across the floor. A few people gather near the door. Then the room becomes strangely quiet. Chosen one. Your hand pauses above the phone. You were not told anything directly. No one named you. No accusation stood in front of you. Still, something in the silence touched a familiar nerve. You notice the glances. You notice the unfinished sentence. You notice how quickly the group changes its subject, and suddenly, your body begins writing a story. Maybe they were talking about me. Maybe someone said something. Maybe I need to explain myself before the story grows. But what if the real trap is not the whisper? What if the real trap is the reaction it tries to pull from you? You walk outside. The air feels colder than it did before the meeting. Your phone feels heavier in your hand. You open the message thread. You read the last conversation again. You search for a hidden meaning inside an ordinary sentence. You examine the punctuation. You examine the time of the reply. You examine the silence after your question. Nothing proves what your fear is suggesting. But fear does not need proof to become loud. It only needs an unanswered space. That space can become a courtroom. Your memories become witnesses. Their facial expressions become evidence. Every delayed reply becomes another piece of a case. Before the night ends, you have already defended yourself to people who never asked for a defense. You type a long message. You explain your intentions. You describe what you meant. You list what you did. You remind them of every sacrifice they may have forgotten. Then you stop. You reread the message. Your chest tightens. The words sound honest. They also sound desperate. You delete the message. Then you restore it. Then you delete it again. This is the exhausting place between hurt and wisdom. You want peace. You also want to be understood. You want to trust God. You also want to control the version of you that lives inside another person's mind. That desire is human. It is not proof of failure. Being misunderstood can feel like a quiet kind of humiliation. It can make an ordinary room feel unsafe. It can make you replay conversations while brushing your teeth. It can make you wake at 2 a.m. and reach for your phone before you remember where you are. You may look at an old photograph. You may remember when a relationship felt simple. You may wonder when the warmth changed. You may ask whether one sentence ruined everything. You may ask whether someone else has been shaping the story behind your back. But pain asks questions faster than wisdom can answer them. That is why the first question is not, what are they saying? The first question is, what is happening inside me right now? Is your pulse quickening? Are you collecting clues? Are you preparing a speech no one requested? Are you checking your phone because you need information? Or are you checking it because uncertainty has become unbearable? There is a difference. One seeks facts. The other seeks relief. Relief can be honest. Relief can also become a cruel master. When hurt appoints itself as your counselor, every decision begins to serve the wound. You answer to prove you are not guilty. You confront to prove you are not weak. You explain to prove you are not what someone imagined. Soon, your peace depends on an audience you cannot control. That is the hidden exhaustion. You are not only carrying what happened, you are carrying every possible interpretation of what happened. You are trying to manage every room you are not in. You are trying to correct every conversation you cannot hear. You are trying to defend a name that God already knows completely. And chosen one, being unsettled does not make you foolish. Feeling wounded does not make you dramatic. Wanting clarity does not make you weak. This is real. The tension is real. The ache is real. But the story fear is building may not be real. You can honor the feeling without obeying every conclusion it suggests. You can admit that a comment hurt without declaring that everyone is against you. You can notice a pattern without turning every coincidence into a prophecy. You can seek counsel without feeding suspicion. You can protect your dignity without performing your innocence for every person in the room. Tonight, let one measured breath interrupt the emergency inside you. Do not send the message while your body is burning. Do not make a permanent decision from a temporary surge of fear. Write down only what you know. Separate facts from interpretations. Separate direct words from imagined meanings. Then ask God for the courage to face truth, whatever truth may be. Sometimes the truth will require a conversation. Sometimes it will require a boundary. Sometimes it will require documentation, wise counsel, or a formal report. Sometimes it will reveal that the silence meant nothing about you at all. Wisdom does not demand that you pretend harm is harmless. Wisdom also does not demand that you call every unanswered question an attack. There is a path between panic and denial. There is a path between retaliation and passivity. There is a path where your heart stays soft, your mind stays clear, and your actions remain proportionate. That path begins with restraint, not weakness. Restraint. Before you answer, breathe. Before you confront, verify. Before you defend, ask whether you have actually been accused. And if you have been accused, choose the right person, the right setting, and the right words. You do not need to hold court in the hallway. You do not need to broadcast your pain across the internet. Private. You do not need to make strangers witnesses to a private wound. God can teach you to respond without surrendering your peace. So make this your first declaration tonight. I will not react from fear. Say it slowly. I will not react from fear. This is not a promise to remain silent forever. It is a promise to refuse fear as your first master. It is a private act of faith. It is one breath before one message, one prayer before one phone call, one pause before one decision. You may still speak. You may still ask a clear question. You may still establish a firm boundary, but you will not let an unverified story govern your spirit. You will not give your attention to every shadow. You will not spend the night defending yourself to an audience God never assigned you. The room may have gone quiet. Your heart may still be searching, but you are not abandoned inside the uncertainty. God is present in the pause, and wisdom is beginning to return. C.S. Lewis understood the danger of looking too long into darkness. He was an Oxford scholar. He was also a man shaped by war, grief, doubt, and faith. Lewis did not treat evil as a childish idea. He also refused to make evil the center of attention. That balance matters tonight, chosen one, because fear can make every silence feel loaded. It can make every closed door feel deliberate. It can make every private conversation feel connected to your name. And once fear controls your attention, it begins controlling your interpretation. In the Screwtape Letters, Lewis wrote, "There are two equal and opposite errors into which our race can fall about the devils. One is to disbelieve in their existence. The other is to believe and to feel an excessive and unhealthy interest in them." Let those words settle. Two errors, not one. One error denies every spiritual danger. The other becomes consumed by it. One refuses discernment. The other turns suspicion into a daily religion. Chosen one, neither error produces wisdom. You do not need to pretend that manipulation never happens. You do not need to ignore a repeated pattern. You do not need to remain exposed to dishonesty, intimidation, or harm. But you also do not need to interpret every silence as a strategy. That is the third response. It is neither denial nor obsession. It is calm attention under the authority of God. Discernment waits for fruit. Fear demands an answer tonight. Discernment gathers facts. Fear gathers fragments. Discernment seeks mature counsel. Fear seeks agreement from anyone who will intensify the story. Discernment can change its conclusion when new truth appears. Fear becomes loyal to its first suspicion. Chosen one, God is not asking you to become naive. He is asking you to become sober. A sober mind does not chase every shadow. A sober mind also does not close its eyes. It watches. It prays. It verifies. It responds in proportion. This is where the trap begins to lose its power. The bait is not merely an accusation. The bait is your attention. A rumor gains leverage when it enters every room with you. It follows you into the kitchen. It sits beside you in the car. It lies beside you when the lights go out. It interrupts prayer with imagined conversations. It interrupts work with speeches you may never deliver. It steals hours without proving a single fact. Chosen one, your attention is part of your stewardship. You cannot stop every person from forming an opinion. You can decide whether that opinion receives unrestricted access to your mind. Picture the morning after a difficult meeting. A message appears in the group chat. The words are vague. The timing feels uncomfortable. You read it once, then 3 more times. Your thumb moves toward the reply box. You want to correct the atmosphere. You want everyone to know your side. But a public defense may create a conflict that did not yet exist. So you pause. You save the message. You write down what actually happened. You remove every sentence that begins with "they must have meant." You keep only what you directly heard and observed. Then you sleep before responding. That pause is not cowardice. It is protection. The next morning, the situation may look different, or the concern may remain. If it remains, you take it to the appropriate person, not the entire group, not an online audience, not every colleague who enjoys a dramatic version. You ask one clear question. You speak about one verifiable event. You leave room for an answer. That is strength with discipline. Now picture a family table. Someone makes a sideways comment. The room laughs too quickly. Your shoulders tighten. You know the history behind that remark. You want to correct everyone at once. You want to open every old file. You want to prove that the family story about you is incomplete. But a crowded table is rarely a courtroom of truth. People defend roles there. They protect old loyalties. They repeat familiar versions because familiar versions feel safe. You may need a conversation, but you do not need 10 conversations at the same time. Choose the person who matters. Choose a private setting. Name the exact words. Describe their effect without claiming hidden motives. Ask for clarity. Then listen. A calm, direct conversation is stronger than fighting an invisible audience. It gives truth a place to stand. It also reveals whether the other person is willing to meet you there. If they are not, that information matters. A boundary may become necessary. Distance may become wise. Counsel may become essential. But the decision will rest on behavior, not on panic. Then comes the screen at night. 11 o'clock. The phone lies face down beside you. The room is quiet. You turn the phone over again. You search a name. You check who liked a post. You notice who did not. You compare timestamps. You revisit an old photograph. You open a message from 6 months ago. Ask yourself this honestly. Are you searching for truth or for permission to believe the worst? Your chest grows heavier. Nothing new has happened, yet your nervous system is living through the conflict again. Chosen one, repeated checking promises certainty. It usually produces more material for fear. Every ambiguous detail becomes another door. Every door opens into another imagined room. Soon, sleep has disappeared. prayer has become interrogation, and your peace is being decided by a glowing screen. Put the phone down. Not because truth does not matter. Put it down because your soul matters too. You can return to verified facts tomorrow. You do not have to solve another person's mind tonight. James wrote to believers living under pressure. They faced conflict, uncertainty, and testing. They needed more than emotional advice. They needed a discipline for the moment before reaction. James 1:19 gives that discipline. Be quick to listen. Be slow to speak. Be slow to anger. Notice the order. Chosen one. Listening comes first. Speech waits. Anger is not permitted to choose the timing. This does not command silence in the presence of real danger. It does not forbid truthful reporting. It does not ask you to tolerate abuse. It teaches that your first emotional surge should not become your final response. Quick to listen means gathering what is true. Slow to speak means refusing words you cannot retrieve. Slow to anger means giving wisdom time to enter the room. The pause creates space. In that space, facts can separate from fear. In that space, counsel can challenge your assumptions. In that space, God can expose both danger and exaggeration. You become harder to manipulate when urgency no longer commands you. In some unhealthy dynamics, a person seeking a reaction may depend on speed. They may pressure you to speak before you understand. They may benefit if you send the paragraph while your hands are shaking. They may use a public reaction as evidence against your character. But wisdom slows the moment down. Wisdom refuses the script. Your heart does not belong to rumor. Your words do not belong to panic. Your attention does not belong to every private opinion. You can listen without surrendering your identity. You can investigate without becoming consumed. You can speak without becoming cruel. You can remain silent without becoming powerless. Restraint becomes an act of faith. When wisdom speaks before wounded pride, you are allowed to pause. You are allowed to verify what happened. You are allowed to decide what requires an answer and what belongs in God's hands. A deliberate pause can prevent a permanent wound, but restraint must not become avoidance. What happens when silence leaves a necessary truth unspoken? That is the deeper distinction. But what happens when restraint begins to feel like disappearing? What happens when silence leaves a necessary truth unspoken? What happens when peace is mistaken for permission? This is the deeper distinction. The door of wisdom is not locked. It simply does not open for panic. Waiting for God does not mean leaving your boundaries unguarded. Trusting God does not require abandoning truth, safety, or responsibility. The next step is not endless silence. The next step is measured action. There is a difference between refusing a reactive argument and avoiding reality. Wise stillness is not passive denial. It does not ignore abuse. It does not excuse intimidation. It does not hide fraud. It does not prevent you from reporting a threat. It does not require you to remain alone with real danger. Chosen one, peace includes protection. Peace can call a trusted leader. Peace can preserve a message. Peace can write down dates and facts. Peace can ask for professional counsel. Peace can leave a room that has become unsafe. Peace can tell the truth without turning truth into revenge. The difference is not whether you act. The difference is what governs the action. Fear acts to discharge unbearable emotion. Wisdom acts to serve truth and safety. Fear wants every person to choose a side immediately. Wisdom identifies the person who can actually address the problem. Fear turns assumptions into public accusations. Wisdom documents what can be verified. Fear says that urgency proves importance. Wisdom knows that some urgent feelings still need careful examination. You do not honor God by remaining exposed to real harm. You honor God by refusing to let harm remake your character. You can be firm without becoming cruel. You can be cautious without becoming consumed. You can seek justice without feeding revenge. You can leave without writing one final speech for the entire room. This balance appears in one of Scripture's most pressured moments. Your situation is not Israel's story, but the order offers a useful principle. Israel stood before the Red Sea. Water blocked the path ahead. Pharaoh's army pressed from behind. The people could hear the danger approaching. Dust rose in the distance. Panic spread through the crowd. They could not argue the sea open. They could not manufacture deliverance through frantic explanation. Then Moses gave the word recorded in Exodus 14:14. The Lord would fight for them. They were to be still. Stillness there was not indifference. It was not pretending the army was imaginary. It was not denying the water in front of them. The danger was real. The fear was understandable, but fear was not qualified to lead. God steadied them before He moved them. Then the command came to go forward. Chosen one, your chest may feel that same kind of pressure tonight. Notice the order. First, the heart was called out of panic. Then the people were called into obedient movement. Chosen one, biblical stillness is not frozen helplessness. It is the refusal to let terror become your commander. You become still enough to hear the next faithful instruction. Then you take that step. Perhaps your next step is a direct conversation. Perhaps it is a written record. Perhaps it is counsel from someone mature and trustworthy. Perhaps it is a report to the proper authority. Perhaps it is distance from a pattern that has repeatedly caused harm. Perhaps it is no response at all. The form may change. The governing piece remains. You do not need 20 sentences when one truthful sentence will stand. You do not need to explain your entire history. You do not need to answer every interpretation. You can say, I am willing to discuss this directly and respectfully, but I will not argue through assumptions. That sentence is not hostile. It is not evasive. It opens the door to honest conversation. It closes the door to confusion disguised as conversation. Say it without a hidden insult. Say it without a threat. Say it once. Then watch what the other person does with clarity. A person seeking truth may slow down. They may offer facts. They may listen. They may correct something they misunderstood. A person seeking control may reject the boundary. They may demand a longer defense. They may change the accusation each time you answer. A controlling person may react against your calm because it removes leverage. Their response gives you information. You do not have to diagnose their soul. You only have to notice the fruit. One clean boundary protects dignity better than 10 pages written in distress. 10 pages often contain 10 doors. A manipulative exchange will enter through every one. It will debate your tone. It will isolate one phrase. It will ignore your central fact. It will keep you working for a verdict that was never honestly available. Chosen one, stop auditioning for a courtroom that changes its rules whenever you speak. Offer truth where truth can be received. Offer facts where facts can be examined. Offer accountability where accountability is appropriate. Then release the fantasy of controlling every conclusion. This is difficult when emotion rises again. Morning clarity can disappear by afternoon. A peaceful prayer can be followed by a painful notification. One new comment can reopen the entire inner trial. Your hands grow cold. Your thoughts accelerate. The paragraph begins forming again. This is why faith must become stronger than the mood of the hour. See, S. Lewis understood that feelings can shift without permission. His insight matters here because wisdom accepted in calm moments is often tested in emotional ones. In Mere Christianity, Lewis wrote, "Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted, in spite of your changing moods." Faith does not mean pretending that your mood is absent. It means your mood does not rewrite what wisdom already established. You already know that an angry message can deepen the wound. You already know that ambiguous evidence cannot support a certain accusation. You already know that sleep, prayer, and counsel can change perspective. You already know that a factual boundary is stronger than a frantic defense. The changing mood says, forget all of that. Answer now. Expose everything. Make them feel what you feel. Faith answers differently. Faith says that truth remains true while adrenaline rises. Faith says that wisdom remains wise while your chest aches. Faith says that God remains present while the room feels unfair. Faith holds the line until the emotional weather changes. Not every emotional storm requires a new decision. Sometimes you keep walking by the direction received in clearer light. So when the notification appears, do not make the first sensation your command. Name what is happening. My body feels threatened. My mind wants immediate relief. I do not yet know the whole truth. Then breathe. Read only what is actually written. Do not add a motive between the lines. Do not subtract a fact because it is uncomfortable. Take the concern to someone who values truth more than drama. Wait until your words can carry both courage and proportion. Then speak if speech is required. This is not weakness. It is emotional stewardship. Your peace belongs beneath God's care. It does not belong to a vague post, a private laugh. You cannot interpret or a person who benefits from keeping you unsettled. You may feel the sting. You may investigate the facts. You may seek counsel, preserve evidence, ask one clear question, establish distance, or contact the proper authority. You may also discover that no action is required today. Trusting God does not eliminate responsibility. It removes panic from responsibility. Let facts determine the size of the response. Let wisdom determine its timing. Let love determine its tone. Let safety determine the necessary boundary. And let God carry what no explanation can control. You have not disappeared. You have become deliberate. You have not surrendered truth. You have removed truth from the hands of panic. There is a question that can quietly consume an entire season. What are they saying about me? It follows you into ordinary tasks. It stands beside the sink. It rides with you to work. It interrupts the page you are trying to read. It makes every delayed reply feel suspicious. It turns every private laugh into a possible verdict. But the mature question is different. What has God asked me to build today? That question does not deny the pressure. It puts the pressure in its proper place. Nehemiah understood the cost of distracted attention. He was rebuilding a broken wall. When invitations came, come down, meet with us, explain yourself. But Nehemiah answered, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. He did not abandon the wall to manage every interpretation. He stayed with the assignment. That does not mean every difficult conversation is a distraction. Some conversations are part of the work. Some corrections must be received. Some concerns must be addressed. But not every invitation deserves immediate access to your focus. You may be rebuilding your peace, your health, your home, your discipline, or your ability to sleep without rehearsing a conversation. The unanswered rumor may invite you to leave that work. Check again, explain again, search again, prove again. You are allowed to answer. I will address what is true in the right way. I will not abandon my assignment to chase every shadow. That is not arrogance. It is stewardship. Boundaries protect what God is rebuilding. They close the window to speculation and open the door to verified conversation. But balance matters. If you guard attention through fear, every person becomes a threat. If you leave it unguarded, every person becomes an authority. C.S. Lewis warned that errors often arrive in pairs of opposites. One error says, nothing is wrong. The other says, everything is a plot. One says, I must suspect every silence. The other says, I must ignore every pattern. Both pull you away from sober discernment. God does not call you to panic. He does not call you to denial. He calls you to truth. Truth can examine evidence. Truth can admit uncertainty. Truth can take precautions. Truth can change course. When facts change, discernment records what was actually said. It checks facts before assigning motives. It seeks mature counsel. It leaves room for misunderstanding. And it acts when danger is real. A delayed text is not proof. A private laugh is not proof. A vague post is not proof. Those things may raise a question. They cannot carry a conclusion alone. Ask yourself gently, what do I know? What do I assume? What do I need to verify? What boundary would protect peace and safety? What work has God placed in my hands today? Then return to that work. Finish the application. Read the chapter. Take the walk. Call the wise person. Put one brick back on the wall. Your attention can come home. Your life can become larger than the question someone else left unanswered. So make this your fifth declaration of faith. God is my defender and my guide. Say it over your work. God is my defender and my guide. Say it over your home. God is my defender and my guide. Say it over the unfinished assignment. God is my defender and my guide. God is your defender. You do not need to manufacture a reputation from panic. God is your guide. You do not need to walk blindly into avoidance or retaliation. He can show you when to speak. He can show you when to wait. He can show you who is safe. He can show you which door to close. He can show you the work worth returning to. Now hear this clearly. You do not need to audition your innocence for every audience. You do not need to perform an explanation in every room. You do not need to keep proving your heart to people committed to misunderstanding it. You do not need to answer every thread. You do not need to correct every stranger. You do not need to make every person comfortable with the truth of your life. This does not mean character is unimportant. Character matters deeply. Truthful conduct matters deeply. Accountability matters deeply. A sincere apology matters when you have caused harm. A clear correction matters when a false claim causes real damage. A report matters when safety or justice requires one. But there is a difference between responsible truthfulness and endless self-justification. Endless self-justification asks the crowd to become your judge and your savior. It gives every opinion the power to name you. God offers a firmer ground. Your identity is not built on a crowd's changing interpretation. It is formed through faithful conduct before Him. People may misunderstand one moment. They may repeat an incomplete story. They may choose a version that protects their comfort. You cannot control all of that, but you can remain honest. You can remain accountable. You can remain open to correction. You can remain unwilling to return harm for harm. This is the way Christ was described in 1 Peter 2:23. When he was insulted, he did not retaliate with insults. When he suffered, he did not threaten. He entrusted himself to the one who judges justly. That is not passive weakness. It is holy strength. Christ did not deny what was happening. He did not call evil good. He did not invite us to remain in abuse. His example never forbids protection, reporting, wise counsel, or truthful testimony. But it shows us where revenge does not belong. Revenge does not belong in your voice. Revenge does not belong in your late-night message. Revenge does not belong in the story you tell to recruit an audience. You can entrust the final judgment to God. You can take the next responsible step without carrying the burden of making everyone see. That is freedom. There is a smaller prize that tries to steal this freedom: immediate vindication, the rush of winning one argument, the fantasy that one perfect paragraph could erase every misunderstanding. C.S. Lewis pictured a child making mud pies because the child cannot imagine a holiday at the sea. The need to win every small court of opinion can become its own mud pie. It feels urgent, but it is too small for the life God is building in you. You were made for deeper peace, for purpose that survives a rumor, for relationships that can hold truth, for a reputation shaped over time by integrity. Let your character speak over time. Let your boundaries become clear. Let your words be few and true. God sees what you cannot prove tonight. He sees the message you did not send. He sees the prayer you prayed instead. Release revenge. Keep integrity. Take the necessary wise step. Then let sustained fruit answer what frantic explanations cannot. You are not required to win every room. You are called to walk faithfully through the room God has placed before you. Now the room grows quiet again, but this silence is different. It is no longer filled with imagined arguments. It is becoming a place where you can place the burden down. You have carried more than the facts. You have carried possible motives, possible conversations, possible judgments, possible outcomes. You have tried to prepare a defense for words you may never hear. You have tried to control interpretations formed in rooms you cannot enter. That burden was never shaped for human shoulders. So before this day closes, bring it honestly before God. Do not make the prayer impressive. Make it true. Father, you see what I understand. You also see what I have assumed. You know where I was treated unfairly. You know where fear enlarged the story. You know the words I wanted to send. You know the answers I rehearsed in the dark. Give me wisdom before I speak. Give me courage when truth requires action. Give me restraint when pride demands a performance. Show me what must be documented. Show me what must be reported. Show me what boundary must be established. Show me what question should be asked directly. And show me what I must release. Guard my heart from bitterness. Guard my words from revenge. Guard my mind from conclusions without evidence. Lead me toward counsel that is mature and truthful. Keep me safe from real harm. Keep me humble enough to receive correction. Keep me strong enough to refuse manipulation. I place my reputation in your hands. I place the unseen conversation in your hands. I place the outcome in your hands. Teach me to walk in truth without surrendering my peace. Amen. Proverbs 19:11 says that a person's wisdom yields patience. It also says that overlooking an offense can be a glory. That wisdom does not call harm acceptable. It does not silence necessary testimony. It does not forbid a boundary. It does not ask you to cover danger with religious language. It reveals that Not every offense deserves possession of your inner life. Some matters require direct action. Some require a clear conversation. Some require distance. Some require reporting. And some require the dignity of letting a small offense end with you. Prudence asks, what kind of matter is actually present? Fear gives every matter the same size. Wisdom responds in proportion. That is the peace you are learning, not fragile peace, not passive peace. Peace with open eyes, peace with a guarded gate, peace that can speak, peace that can leave, peace that can forgive, peace that can ask for help, peace that does not need to punish someone to prove it was wounded. Tomorrow, the old urge may return. You may wake and reach for the phone. You may remember one unfinished sentence. You may feel your chest tighten before your feet touch the floor. When that happens, you do not need a complicated strategy. Begin with 3 peaceful practices. First, wait before responding. Give your body time to leave the first wave of alarm. Take a measured breath. Drink water. Step away from the screen. Pray before you type. If the matter is not urgent, let one night pass. A delayed response is not a lost response. It may become the first honest response you have offered. Second, write only what is factual. Separate observation from interpretation. Write what was said. Write what occurred. Write when it happened. Remove the sentence that claims to know another person's hidden motive. Remove the exaggeration that fear added. Keep the concern clear. Keep the request direct. A factual record serves truth. An emotional prosecution usually serves the need for immediate relief. Third, seek wise counsel when needed. Choose someone who will not feed panic. Choose someone who will not dismiss danger. Choose someone who can ask careful questions. Choose someone who values your safety and your integrity. Tell them what you know. Tell them what you do not know. Let them help you measure the next step. These practices are simple. They are also powerful. Wait before responding. Write only what is factual. Seek wise counsel when needed. Restraint can be active. Restraint can be clear. Restraint can be safe. You are not becoming voiceless. You are learning to give your voice to truth instead of panic. You are not becoming defenseless. You are learning that defense can include boundaries, evidence, counsel, and trust. You are not abandoning your name. You are refusing to spend your whole life managing every mouth that speaks it. There is one final act of faith for tonight. It is not a denial of what happened. It is a release of what you cannot govern. Say this slowly. I release what I cannot control. Say it without rushing. I release what I cannot control. You cannot control every opinion. You cannot control every private conversation. You cannot control whether someone understands your restraint. You cannot control whether an unfair person becomes fair tonight. You cannot control the speed of vindication. But you can control whether you retaliate. You can control whether you check the facts. You can control whether your boundary is clear. You can control whether you seek help. You can control whether your next step agrees with your values. You can control whether you return to the work God placed before you. Release does not mean remaining in danger. Release does not mean destroying evidence. Release does not mean refusing justice. Release means giving God the portion no wise action can command. You do what faithfulness requires. Then you stop demanding that anxiety finish the work. Chosen one, place down the imaginary courtroom. Place down the speech you have delivered 100 times in your mind. Place down the audience you cannot persuade. Place down the need to know what everyone thinks before you sleep. Your bed is not a witness stand. Your pillow is not a judge's bench. Tonight can become a place of rest again. The phone can remain face down. The unanswered question can remain unanswered until morning. God will still be God while you sleep. Truth will not collapse because you rested. Your integrity will not disappear because you stopped explaining. Tomorrow, if action is needed, wisdom can meet you there. If a conversation is needed, clarity can meet you there. If a report is needed, courage can meet you there. If no response is needed, freedom can meet you there. You do not have to solve every possibility tonight. You only need to entrust the next faithful step to God. If you want continued encouragement, grounded in Scripture, remain connected to this community. Let it be a place where faith becomes steady, discernment remains sober, and wounded people learn wise peace. Carry these words with you. Not every whisper deserves your reply. Not every misunderstanding requires an immediate defense. You can pause without surrendering. You can act without retaliating. You can set a boundary without hatred. The trap loses power when it can no longer command your reaction. God can guard your heart tonight. Truth does not need panic to endure. Tomorrow can begin with a quieter mind and one faithful step.